That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, we are getting to that point in the season where, I mean, we are going to be all in Dynasty Fantasy Football all the time. There's nothing better than Dynasty. If you are not in a Dynasty Fantasy Football league yet, I don't know what you've been doing with your life. I don't know what you do for enjoyment, but I promise you it's not as fun as Dynasty. And nonetheless, I know we have a lot of people just now getting into Dynasty Fantasy Football. So I want to go through and I just want to make this an overall strategy video. I just have a couple bullet points that I want to be covering across multiple positions of common mistakes that I find over there with people's rosters on Patreon. Because of course, I mean, if you go join the flock on Patreon, I'm sure y'all already know this by now. We have our Dynasty rankings over there. You get our Dynasty draft guide over there. I mean, you get an in-depth podcast breaking down your own Dynasty team over there. You get into be in a Dynasty league with us over there. There's so much going on over on Patreon, but because I spend pretty much my entire day just checking out your Dynasty rosters, there are a lot of mistakes I'm seeing from these new people. But please make sure y'all go down there, drop that like, leave a comment, letting any other person watching this video know your opinion. If I say something stupid in this video, which I definitely will, please let me know down there in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you don't play Dynasty, I'm sorry, this is not the channel for you. But let's go through and let's dive into our first bullet point, and that is selling rookie picks too early. Now, I know that there's been a ton of conversation around this rookie class saying the quarterbacks suck, tight end sucks, running backs aren't special. The only thing good is the wide receiver class, and you should go through and you should sell your picks before people realize that. Well, I got some news for you. Do you not think that everybody else has heard that same thing over and over again? Do you really think you're the only person who has heard that? So you're going to be able to go through and sell your mid-first round pick for exactly what it was going for last year. I got some news for you. No, you're not getting that return. You're not getting the same return you would have if you go through and sell the 103 in the draft class where you probably were getting Najee Harris at that pick. It's not happening. So let's stop living in just fairyland world. Let's come back to reality and look at the marketplace that we have with these rookie picks currently. And now we're going to be talking about 2022 rookies, and we can also talk about some long-term outlook with those rookie picks as well. Because I will tell you right now, with how I'm valuing these rookie picks, I simply do not care, and I repeat, I do not care how we perceive these draft classes right now. I don't care that everybody in the Dynasty community, this is not a, under the table type thing. Everybody here knows that that 2023 draft class should be better than the 2022 one. So instead of going through and trading that rookie pick you have 107 for a future first, I think you need to be holding it. Like, there's no secret here. I mean, you're not getting anything that you can't get just a couple months from now. And what I think is going to happen a couple months from now, keep in mind, my entire life has just been essentially dedicated to Dynasty Fantasy Football since 2014. There's nothing I enjoy more on this planet than Dynasty Fantasy Football. I have seen this every single offseason. Every single offseason. It doesn't matter if the best players in the class are Laquan Treadwell, Corey Coleman, and Josh Doxson. It doesn't matter if those are the headline names of the class. When we go through an entire Dynasty offseason, and you go through and you just watch video after video, read article after article, listen to podcast after podcast of these rookies coming into the league, you're going to begin to talk yourself into the Corey Coleman. You're going to begin to talk yourself into the Laquan Treadwell. And I'm not necessarily saying that as you, an individual, but I'm saying the average person playing Dynasty Fantasy Football. Give them 3 or 4 months and say, these are the best options in the rookie class. Everybody's going to naturally go towards their guy. My guy that we are really trying to hammer in the second round last year before he moved up in drafts was Elijah Moore. But everybody's going to find that guy that they love in that draft class that they want to get by the time rookie drafts come around. Now, that being said, why would we ever go through and sell a rookie pick at this time of the season? Because a big thing is those veteran players, their value can't really go up much. I mean, unless you're going to get Michael Gallup going to Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers staying there, then hell yes, Gallup gets out of Dallas. He's a free agent. He finds a much better situation. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, there are going to be very few instances like that, where in reality, there are a lot of those veteran players right now. I mean, I'm seeing this happen in 2022 best ball drafts at the moment. I'm seeing people go out there and take someone like Leonard Fournette in the second round. I'm going, that's not a safe selection at all. I'm seeing people go out there and take Cordell Patterson in the third. And I'm saying, okay, well, I get it. They're great options this season. The situation lined up perfectly for them. They looked very good while they were doing so. But to go through and trade for players with that prototype at the moment simply does not make sense at all. Because there is so much to happen throughout this entire offseason that's going to be drastically changing situations, not only for running backs, but also for receivers, for tight ends, and for quarterbacks. And what is the constant with all these changing situations? The constant is that rookie pick value in trades. This is something we talk about all the time, where those rookie picks, it doesn't matter right now who the 103 projects to be. What matters is that rookie pick 103 is $1. It's like you going through and going, okay, do I want to go buy a Ford F-150 at the moment and go pay $60,000 for that? Or do I want to wait until I actually need the car, hold the $60,000 in the bank, let it accrue interest, and then we can take it out because that car is going to cost the same 3 months ago than it does now. And if I don't need that car right now, why the hell am I paying for it? Because the big thing is, in you trading for those veteran players, when are you hitting submit on your starting lineup for 2022? When is that happening? That is happening in about 7 months. Let that sink in. We have about like 200 days. Of course, my math could be horribly wrong. We have about 200 days until you're going through and submitting another starting lineup for fantasy. So to go through and sell your future draft picks right now, in my opinion, that is a horrible idea. I am going out there selling my veterans. I am going and selling a player like Leonard Fournette, trying to get some flexibility for the offseason, knowing that you'll have a ton of opportunities to make trades once we get to, just say March, April, May, to go through, cash in on those rookie picks when we're already through free agency, when you're through the NFL draft, and you have a much better idea of the veteran situation that you're actually going ahead and buying. So please don't be trading away those rookie picks right now. And another common mistake that I am seeing in Dynasty at the moment, and I'm not going to lie, I made this mistake. This is the reason I want to go through and talk about this. Y'all know we recently got a Dynasty startup mock draft going on the channel. And I believe it was the 4th round. We're in the middle of the 4th round. We got sniped, and I was sitting there panicking on the clock, going, okay, what are we doing? Do we just go with Mac Jones? We ended up taking Mac Jones there. Keep in mind, of course, this is a super flex league, but that pick was atrocious for multiple reasons. The main reason was Matthew Stafford was still available. And this is the perfect example that I can use because I myself made this mistake. I was the idiot in the scenario. And I want to talk about why drafting Mac Jones over a player like Matthew Stafford is the perfect example of making a mistake of factoring in quarterback age in Dynasty when it simply does not matter. Now, a big thing is if you just go through and look at, the trajectory that we have had with some of these quarterbacks through their NFL careers. I get it. Tom Brady is one of a lifetime type player. You're never going to get another Tom Brady. It just is what it is. It's laughable for me to even use Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford in the same sentence. But Tom Brady right now is probably going to win the MVP at 44 years old. Okay. Not only that, but also going over, looking at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the other player in contention for an MVP, and he's at 38 years old. So this kind of has been going through and showing us the trend that you really don't have to be worried about quarterback age at the moment. Because let's use Matthew Stafford as an example. So with Matthew Stafford, he is currently 33. Let's just say Stafford is a quarterback that's able to go through and play until he's, let's be conservative here. Let's say 38. I think we can all agree, based on the playing style of Matthew Stafford, that he wins based off of his arm and his knowledge rather than his athleticism, like someone like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson will be a completely different instance than this. But with Matthew Stafford in particular, he can make it another 5-6 years, no problem, at this same level without seeing a fall off. And I think that's fair to say. Why the hell are we going to go through and value a quarterback like Mac Jones over that player when Mac Jones hasn't shown us the ability to be as productive if we're already locking in 6 years from Matthew Stafford? Because the big thing is 6 years. I mean, it's a higher chance that Mac Jones flames out over that 6-course period, which I'm not saying is likely, but then Matthew Stafford does. Let's really think about that. I mean, we can go back recent examples with other years. Players like Jared Goff, the former quarterback in LA, is the perfect example. I mean, a player that shows some promise at the beginning of his career, but then ultimately does flame out. You look at Marcus Mariota at the same time. And I'm not trying to say that Mac Jones is these quarterbacks. But what I am saying is we've had example after example after example of young quarterbacks coming in, flashing, flaming out. So that timetable that, I mean, maybe the first person playing Dynasty will say, oh, Mac Jones, we take him here. We have a starting quarterback for the next 15 years. A, that's not true. B, if you really think about the timetable with it, 6 years for Matthew Stafford is everything. Like, let's be realistic here. 6 years ago, I was in high school. Since then, graduated high school, moved across the country, graduated with multiple degrees in college, then moved across country again. I mean, now I am pretty much a Dynasty fantasy football analyst for my full-time job. Like, 6 years is everything. You shouldn't be worried about that quarterback age in Dynasty, but a position that you do need to worry about age with is actually going to be a running back. Now, with a running back, this is something that we talked about this past season, but please, 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 if there's anything that you ever get from this channel, it's invest into running backs on their rookie contracts. Go in, instead of taking Alvin Kamara coming into last season, go sell Alvin Kamara and get Javonte Williams in a first-round pick. And of course, you're no longer doing that right now because you can't do that right now. But last offseason, you could. Understand that at the running back position, it's completely different than quarterback. I mean, the perfect example of this is we were talking about Tom Brady lasting till, and I know we're speaking on outliers here. I get it. But we're talking about Tom Brady potentially lasting until he's 45. Todd Gurley is 27. Le'Veon Bell is 29. David Johnson had 1 year at his peak before he fell off. The running back position is a completely different beast. The running back position, unless you're Adrian Peterson or Frank Gore, you're not making it to your 30s. It's simply not possible anymore at the position. So instead of going through and looking to be the guy drafting Alvin Kamara or Dalvin Cook with 1 year left, why are you going to take them with 1 year left when the second that they see an injury, their value is not cut in half, but their value is 10% of what it once was? They go from being, just remember, David Johnson was a first-round startup pick, and 18 months later, this was a player that was being selected in the double-digit rounds. You aren't finding that with those rookie running backs. You're not finding that with those second-year running backs. That's why, even though Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been extremely disappointing, I'm willing to go out there and take a bet with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not necessarily that I think he'll become a better running back, but if you look historically speaking from their dynasty value with the trajectory that you find in their ADP, those players that are 22 years old at the running back position that are in fine situations that should continue to get opportunities specifically on their rookie contracts, those players are severely undervalued. Whereas, the classic guys like Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, I know they're outliers, but nonetheless, once you get to 27, 28 years old, historically, you see that sharp fall off. That's why we're avoiding someone like Derrick Henry coming into the year. And I know we look stupid for that, but he ends up getting hurt. Like, it is what it is. And now his value is not going to be half of what it was last offseason. So let me kind of reiterate what we're talking about with age in Dynasty. I will always be the person that will be willing to get out a year too early at the running back position. And one mistake that I've made in the past is thinking that we can take Jameis Winston, thinking we can take Marcus Mariota and have our quarterback position locked, set in for 15 years when that's not a guarantee. Not only is that not a guarantee, but it's stupid to even try to think like that whenever 6 years is more than long enough and you can get a veteran quarterback like Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson at a discount. And now our last mistake is honestly the biggest one. And I get so frustrated with people sending me this message on Patreon, but they'll send me their team for me to go through and make a podcast. And they'll go, yeah, I know I need running backs. So what do I need to trade for a running back? And of course, this is an off-season type scenario, but I'm looking at them saying, why the hell do you think you need a running back? I don't care if your running back 1 on the roster right now is Donta Foreman, and your running back 2 on the roster is Jeremy McNichols, and then you have, 10 wide receiver 2s. You don't need a running back. You'll need a running back when we get to August. To go through and to pay for Leonard Fournette at the moment is a massive, massive mistake. I understand that if you're in a dynasty league, especially if you're only in 1 or 2 dynasty leagues, I'm in a ridiculous amount of dynasty leagues, so it's easier said than done for me. But I know you want to pull up Sleeper. I know you want to pull up whatever you're playing on. You want to go through and you want to look at your team. You want to send screenshots of your team in group chats. You want to send screenshots of your team to buddies. And it looks ugly for sure when you have, a wide receiver, say like Jalen Waddle on the bench, and then at running back, you have Donta Foreman in the starting lineup. Well, I have something to tell you. Those starting lineups do not matter for another 200 days or so. What we need to be worried about right now, because you should be making at least 10 trades this offseason. And that's not that aggressive to say. 10 trades is, about 2 trades a month. Like, that's not that many at all. You can make 2 trades a month. What we need to be worrying about is getting as much value on the roster currently. And then once we get to NFL preseason, once you get to training camp and you have a great idea saying, okay, well, James Conner, he's the running back 2 on the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe that's someone we want to go out there and purchase at a discount. That's when you go through and purchase your running backs. When you're looking at exactly what the depth chart is, when you have a great idea of what you're actually buying with running back opportunity, and we can go through and we can say the same thing for quarterback, the same thing for tight end, the same thing for wide receiver. Please, for the love of God, do not worry about team need right now. Don't worry about balancing your roster until we get to the season. If you have 5 starting quarterbacks in a Superflex league at the moment, why are you going through and looking to sell one? I know maybe it looks ugly to say if you have someone like Russell Wilson on the bench, but who the hell cares? We know that's going to be a stable asset throughout the season. Might as well keep that stable asset like a little gold chip, and then whenever we get to the beginning of the season, that's when you go through and cash it in. And of course, thank you all so much for being a part of the flock and supporting the channel. I really hope that this podcast was able to help y'all out. I think that honestly, those are some pretty solid rules to be going by in Dynasty Fantasy Football that can improve your game. But of course, thank you. Go down there, drop that like, leave a comment letting me know why I am as stupid as I am. Subscribe to the channel as well, only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, but you didn't make it this far unless you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. I think that should be it. I hope I see you out there with the video tomorrow. And of course, you can find Dynasty Leagues, you can find Dynasty Rankings, you can find the whole 9 yards over there on Patreon. Of course, the link will be in the description of the video. And thank you again.